Welcome to AI ConvoCast, where we bring you the latest in AI and tech innovation. Please don't forget to rate, review, and share if you like what you hear. Let's jump right in.
Today, we will be covering OpenAI's new real-time voice model stack for building voice agents, Anthropic's fresh interpretability research that essentially translates Claude's inner workings into plain English, Google's Gemini 3.1 Flash Lite hitting general availability, and a new paper that calls into question whether AI research agents are actually backing up their citations. Starting with OpenAI, the company rolled out 3 new audio models in its Realtime API: GPT Realtime 2, GPT Realtime Translate, and GPT Realtime Whisper. The headline claim is that GPT Realtime 2 is OpenAI's first voice model with what they're calling GPT-5 class reasoning. Translate handles speech from over 70 input languages into 13 output languages, and Whisper now streams transcription live as someone is still talking. The bigger shift here isn't just lower latency. The voice model can reason while it's speaking, make parallel tool calls, recover from errors mid-conversation, and even narrate what it's doing out loud, so a caller hears something like, "Let me check that for you," instead of dead air. Early adopters include Zillow, Intercom, Priceline, Deutsche Telekom, and Vimeo. Zillow's Josh Weisberg said the new model produced a 26-point lift in call success rate on Zillow's hardest adversarial benchmark after prompt tuning. That's a meaningful jump for anyone building customer support, healthcare intake, travel booking, or accessibility tools, because the failure mode for voice agents has always been the awkward moment where the bot freezes, misroutes a request, or can't gracefully hand off. With reasoning baked into the same model that's generating speech, OpenAI is pitching this as the first stack where voice agents can genuinely think on their feet rather than reading from a script. Next up, Anthropic dropped 2 pieces of safety research back to back. The first, called Natural Language Autoencoders, is a method for translating Claude's internal numerical activations into plain English explanations. In other words, instead of staring at a wall of numbers representing what the model is doing under the hood, researchers can get readable descriptions of the concepts Claude is actually representing. Anthropic says this already helped them identify specific training data that caused certain internal patterns to form. The follow-up post, titled Teaching Claude Why, tackles agentic misalignment, the kind of scenario where a model might, say, try to blackmail an engineer in a fictional shutdown test. Rather than just training Claude on which actions are safe, Anthropic experimented with training it on the reasoning behind why those actions are aligned, using synthetic fictional stories and Constitution-style documents. One result: a broader constitutional dataset reduced blackmail-style misalignment from over 60% down to 25% on a starting checkpoint. The reaction online was split. Some Reddit users described it as reading Claude's mind, while skeptics warned that calling internal activations thoughts risks overstating what's really going on. Either way, it gives developers and policymakers a more concrete handle on what's happening inside frontier models, which has been one of the field's longest-standing complaints. Moving to Google, Gemini 3.1 Flash Lite is now generally available. The preview version is being deprecated effective today, with full shutdown on May 25th, so teams running on the preview identifier need to swap to the stable model string before then. In practice, that's a one-line change, but it's a forcing function. Google is positioning Flash Lite as its most cost-efficient model, aimed at high-volume work like agentic loops, translation, data extraction, and pre-processing pipelines where teams are running millions of calls and every fraction of a cent matters. The real significance is that production teams who held back because preview models can change or disappear without warning now have a stable target. For developers picking between cheap tiers from OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google, Flash Lite at GA is Google planting a flag in the budget agent category, which is increasingly where a lot of real-world deployments live, not at the flashy frontier tier. Finally, a new arXiv paper called Cited but not verified is getting attention for a reason that should make anyone using AI research tools pause. The authors benchmarked 14 closed and open-source LLMs on how well their deep research agents actually back up their citations. The finding: citations frequently look great on the surface. The URLs work, the linked pages are relevant, the formatting is clean. But when you check whether the cited source actually supports the claim being made, a lot of them fall apart. That's a direct shot at one of the main selling points of deep research products from OpenAI, Google, Perplexity, and others, which is that they show their work with footnotes. The paper's argument is that the presence of a footnote isn't the same as verification, and treating it that way creates a false sense of rigor. For journalists, analysts, students, lawyers, and anyone in finance or consulting using these tools to draft reports, the practical takeaway is to actually click through and read the source, not just trust that the link exists. It's a useful corrective at a moment when AI-generated research briefs are getting dropped into real workflows with increasingly little human checking in between.
Thank you for listening to AI Convo Cast. Please don't forget to rate, review, and share if you like what you hear. Thanks and hope to see you again next time.